The night air was thick with city noise, traffic, laughter, and the dull hum of neon lights flickering over the quiet alley behind the luxury hotel. The CEO of Brightline Corporation, Elena Gray, walked quickly, clutching her purse tightly, her heels echoing off the damp concrete. She'd just left a late business dinner, one where fake smiles had hidden sharp intentions. Her head pounded from the stress of the day. She just wanted to get to her car and go home. But as she turned the corner, 3 men blocked her path. They weren't strangers to the streets, the kind that loitered around bars, drunk on cheap beer and arrogance. One of them smirked, his voice dripping with mockery. "Hey sweetheart, what's the rush? You look like you could use some company." Elena's pulse quickened. "Get out of my way," she said firmly, keeping her voice steady. Another man stepped closer, his grin widening. "We're just trying to be friendly. Don't be so cold." Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for her phone. "Move, now." The tallest one snatched her wrist before she could dial. "Or what?" he hissed. Before she could scream, a rough, commanding voice echoed from behind them. "Leave her alone." The men turned sharply. At the entrance of the alley stood a man in a worn-out jacket, jeans, and work boots, tall, broad-shouldered, with tired eyes and rough hands. He didn't look rich or important, but there was something about his stance, calm, controlled, dangerous. It was Daniel Reed, a single dad who worked double shifts as a mechanic and janitor just to keep his little daughter, Maya, in school. He'd been taking out the trash from the nearby diner when he saw what was happening. One of the men laughed. "Mind your own business, hero." Daniel took a step forward. "You heard me. Let her go." The tallest man sneered. "Or you'll do what?" The first punch came fast. The man lunged. Daniel sidestepped, blocked, and landed a hit to the ribs so clean it made a hollow sound. The others joined in, but Daniel fought with precision, not wild, not angry, just efficient. A knee to the gut, a shove against the wall, and one quick grab sent the last one crashing onto the pavement. The entire fight lasted less than a minute. The men groaned, cursing, stumbling away into the dark, muttering threats they didn't mean. Daniel stood breathing heavily, knuckles scraped, shirt collar torn. Elena's breath came out in shivers. Her phone still clutched in her hand, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. He looked at her, concern flickering through his eyes. "You okay?" She didn't answer right away. Her eyes swept over him, the oil stains on his hands, the patched-up jacket, the exhaustion in his posture. Something in her chest tightened, but not out of fear. Finally, she spoke, her tone sharper than she intended. "You shouldn't have interfered." Daniel blinked, confused. "Excuse me." She straightened her blazer, trying to hide her trembling. "You could have gotten yourself killed. That was reckless." He stared at her for a moment, silent. The woman he'd just saved wasn't thanking him, she was scolding him. He shook his head slightly, almost amused. "Next time I'll let them finish their conversation with you then." He turned to walk away, but her voice stopped him. "Wait." She hesitated, her pride and gratitude at war inside her. You're hurt." "It's fine," he said simply. "I've had worse." She opened her mouth to say something else, but her driver pulled up to the curb. The black car's headlights washed over the alley. She looked at him once more, wanting to say thank you but unable to let her guard down. He just nodded and walked away, disappearing into the night. The next morning, Elena sat in her office, still thinking about him. The boardroom windows stretched from floor to ceiling, showing the city skyline, but her mind kept replaying that alley, the sound of his voice, the steadiness in his eyes. Her assistant, Clara, entered. "Ms. Gray, the new building maintenance contractor is here to see you." "Send him in," she said absently. The door opened, and in walked Daniel Reed. For a split second, neither spoke. Recognition flashed in both faces. "You," she breathed. He looked equally stunned. "You're the woman from last night." Her tone stiffened. "I'm also your new employer, apparently." Clara smiled awkwardly and left them alone. Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. "Small world." Elena composed herself. "You'll be working with the facilities team on the 12th and 15th floors. Report to Mr. Chen. I don't mix business with personal encounters, so let's keep this professional." He gave a small nod, almost smirking. "Wouldn't dream of it." As he left, she felt a strange flutter of guilt, the memory of his bruised hands, his quiet bravery, and the way she'd snapped at him instead of thanking him. Days turned into weeks. Elena began noticing him more often, fixing light fixtures, carrying tools, helping employees without being asked. He didn't speak much, but when he did, his words carried weight. One afternoon, she saw him in the parking lot with a little girl about 7 years old, small, bright eyes, messy ponytail, and a backpack almost as big as her. Elena paused near her car. "That's your daughter." Daniel turned. "Yeah, this is Maya." The little girl smiled shyly. "Hi." Elena bent down, her tone softening. "Hi, sweetheart, you like coming to visit your dad?" "She says the elevators here are magic," Daniel said, chuckling. Elena laughed. Something rare for her. "Well, we'll have to make sure they stay that way." From that day, something shifted. She started bringing extra lunch when she worked late, quietly leaving a sandwich or coffee where Daniel could find it. He pretended not to notice, but every time, the corner of his mouth twitched in a hidden smile. One night, a storm hit the city. Power flickered. The building's emergency generator failed. Daniel was still on site, checking systems when he noticed light coming from Elena's office. She was still there, working by the faint glow of her phone screen. "You should go home," he said, stepping inside. She looked up, startled. "Generator's down." "Yeah, I'll fix it." Rain hammered against the glass. She looked at him for a long moment before asking quietly, "Why did you help me that night?" He paused. "Because I saw someone in trouble." Didn't think about it much. She studied him, the way his sincerity seemed effortless. Most people wouldn't have. He shrugged. Most people don't know what it's like to have someone waiting for them at home. The silence between them deepened, filled with unspoken emotions neither dared to name. Finally, she whispered, "Thank you. For that night." He smiled faintly. "Took you long enough." She almost laughed, but her eyes glistened instead. Weeks later, Brightline hosted a charity gala. Elena, elegant in a silver gown, was the center of attention, cameras flashing, investors circling. Daniel was working behind the scenes, helping with lighting cables, wearing his plain black uniform. During the event, one of her old business rivals, a smug investor named Roland Pierce, cornered her. He'd always resented her authority, seeing her as competition he couldn't control. His tone dripped with sarcasm. "Still keeping bodyguards these days?" he teased, eyeing Daniel from across the room. "Or do you just like collecting strays?" Elena's expression froze. Before she could respond, Daniel stepped forward, calm but firm. "You should walk away, sir." Roland sneered. "And who are you supposed to be?" Daniel's eyes didn't waver. "Someone who knows when a man's gone too far." The crowd quieted, sensing tension. Elena intervened quickly, placing a hand on Daniel's arm. "It's fine," she said softly. But as Roland walked away, smirking, she turned to Daniel. "You shouldn't have done that in front of them." He looked hurt but composed. "You mean defend you?" "I mean cause a scene." He nodded slowly, disappointment flickering in his gaze. "Got it. Won't happen again." He walked away before she could explain, before she could say she wasn't angry, just afraid. That night, when she went home, her heart felt heavier than usual. A few days later, she found out that Daniel had been let go, part of a quiet, budget cut order that Roland had pushed through the board. Furious, she stormed into the HR office and reversed it instantly. When Daniel came to clear his things, she met him at the door. "I didn't ask for this," he said. "I didn't do it as a favor," she replied. "I did it because this company needs people like you." He looked at her, the walls around both of them slowly breaking down. "And what do you need, Elena?" She didn't answer right away. Then, softly, "Someone who tells me the truth. Someone who looks at me and doesn't see the CEO, just me." His silence said everything. Months passed. The bond between them grew quietly, through late-night talks, shared laughter, small acts of kindness. Maya began calling her Miss Ellie. Daniel stopped pretending not to notice her coffee gifts. And one morning, as sunlight filled the building lobby, Elena found him fixing a light panel. She watched him for a while, then finally said the words she'd been meaning to since that night in the alley. "Thank you, Daniel, for saving me, for everything since." He looked down at her, smiling softly. "You finally mean it this time." She laughed, and the sound was lighter than it had ever been. "Yeah," she said quietly. "I do." And as he stood there, holding his wrench and smiling that quiet, genuine smile, she realized something. Sometimes, the heroes who save you aren't wearing suits or badges. They're the ones who show up when you least expect them, and remind you what it means to be seen, to be safe, to be human again.